Hi, welcome to my podcast, Becoming a Cut Flower Grower. I'm your host, Lydia, and I'm here to share my year of growing and selling cut flowers. I'll be giving you the lowdown on everything I'm doing and sharing all the highs and lows, the good times and the inevitable disasters, all in real time. Join me on my cut flower journey, starting right now. Well, hello again. It's me, and I say again because I have just been talking for about 10 minutes and just realized that nothing got recorded. So I'm going to have to say everything else to you again and make it sound fresh like it's the first time I'm saying it and not that I've just wasted 10 minutes, clearly just talking to the dog. So I'm up here at the plot. I am actually hiding in the car because it's really, really raw today. The weather app says it's 10 degrees centigrade, although 8 with the wind chill. My car, which always lies to me, says it's 14 degrees centigrade. But I'm finding it really, really raw out there. So I thought the dog and I might just sit in the car. And she's got 2 jumpers and a jacket on, and she's fast asleep. So she's clearly fine, and I'm not doing too badly. So it's Tuesday, the 4th of February, bit of a murky old day. And I thought I would start by addressing a question that I had about my last episode, number 7, which was about dahlias. So I had a question from a listener to ask whether I was being paid by Halls of Hedden to talk about them because I said their name so many times. Well, one of the first things to say is that I have found when I listen back to my own podcast that sometimes I get particularly hung up on a particular word and I repeat it excessively. So apologies for that. It has been noted and I'm working on it. But the main thing is to say that no, I am not being paid or sponsored by Halls. I've never even placed an order from them, so they don't even know I exist. And I want to reassure you that there will never ever be paid adverts on this podcast because I listen to a lot of podcasts and I cannot stand the adverts at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. They drive me mad. And because I listen with earbuds a lot of the time, I find it even more intrusive that the ad just goes straight into your ear. I hate it. So, no paid adverts, no subscription fees, no sponsorship or anything like that. In the extremely unlikely event that somebody pays me to say something, it will only ever be to endorse something that I happen to agree with in the first place. And I will expressly tell you. Otherwise, there's none of that. So if I mention a product or a company or anything, it's because I'm just chatting to you like just a regular human being, that there's no money behind it. It's literally just me. And I feel sometimes that it's unavoidable to mention a company name or somewhere that I go and visit to do with the dahlias. So that's that cleared up. And the other thing I wanted to share with you was a bit of a brainwave that I had yesterday off the back of my friend Gabby, who is a fellow gardener. She's an expert at seed sowing and growing vegetables and salads, and she's a very, very clever lady. And she sent me a reel on Instagram, which was for a flower grower in Missouri, in the States. And it was this lovely lady showcasing her plot and all the beautiful flowers that she'd grown. And it was a lovely reel, great music, all the rest of it. And it was one of those reels that I mentioned to you quite early on in this series of podcasts about how you can see something really incredible and feel really inspired. And then a few minutes later, just feel a little bit low because you think, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do anything like that. There's always somebody better. And you just feel a little bit crushed, a little bit flat, maybe like, oh God, my setup's awful and oh God, I can't do this. Anyway, I stopped looking at the reel because it ended and I went to have a look at my plot. And I was thinking in my head, this lady's in Missouri. She's got all these beautiful flat flower beds, everything nicely staked. And I was looking at it and I realized what I've done wrong with my plot. And I don't know why it's taken me so long to realize this. But I've basically got all my rows going in the wrong direction. So at the moment, mine run in an east-west aspect, which technically is a good one because you want the sun to be going overhead as it would east to west, so you get kind of a maximum amount of sunlight. But that wasn't the main reason I did it. The main reason was because of how my brain works. I was clearing turf from right to left. And as I worked my way along, I just filled up the beds as the turf got lifted and the soil was available. And that meant that, yes, my beds were running east west, but they were also running down the slope from a high point to a low point, rather than if I'd repositioned them all running from a north to south aspect, they would be running flat like terraces, basically going up the hill. And I've got about 40 foot of distance. So I could have at least 6 times 40-foot beds, just like this lady in Missouri. Actually, I think hers are 50. And it was a bit of a game changing moment for me. You know, the penny dropped. So, Gabby, if you're listening, thank you so, so much for sending me that reel. You have no idea how much that 30-second reel has changed my entire perspective. So, that is what we're going with this year. Okay, that's everything. Now, let's talk about sweet peas. So, sweet peas, I've been growing sweet peas for years and years and years. I really, really love them. I love that from this tiny seed, you get this incredible 6'2" plant covered in the most gorgeous, scented, brightly coloured, beautiful flowers. So, I have decided to grow them as cut flowers this year. And towards the end of 2024, I actually ordered some. And I ordered them from a company whose name I will reveal in a moment. And I am not being paid to tell you that name. But the story about that was my boyfriend and I were on holiday in Dorset. And this was a couple of years ago, actually. And we visited a farm that sold raw milk because we both love raw milk and it's not the easiest thing to get hold of. So we had a look on the internet. We found this farm that did raw milk and we drove over and we bought some. And while we were on the farm, because you could wander around and go and see the cows and have a look at the chickens and everything, and me being nosy, they had a greenhouse around the back, so I made a beeline for that. And I was having a ferret about, and there was a lady in there dealing with sweet peas. And so I started to talk to her, and she clearly thought I shouldn't have been in the greenhouse, and she didn't really want to talk to me at all. So I thought I'd better leave because I think she's getting quite cross with me. So the last thing I asked her before I backed carefully out of the greenhouse was, "Where do you buy your sweet peas from?" And she said, "Roger Parsons." And that was the last thing she ever said to me. And we beat a hasty retreat. So this year, I will be using Roger Parsons sweet peas. Now, they're one of the most prestigious sweet pea suppliers, from what I understand. In the UK, they have a gorgeous selection. And I have already ordered 100. Now, I have ordered two different types. One is a Spencer variety, and the other is a semi-grandiflora Spencer mixture. Now, the Spencer types, if you're a sweet pea person, are the ones with really large, showy flowers, nice long stems. The fragrance very much depends on the variety that you get, and they're what exhibitors tend to use because they're really blousy and quite over the top. Now, there's also the old fashions, which tended to have a very strong scent but smaller flowers, so not so good maybe for cut flowers or for exhibiting. And then there's the semi-grandifloras, like the modern ones, which have been tweaked. So they're crosses between the Spencers and the old fashions. So you get the best of both worlds in theory. You get a heavenly scent and you also get a longer stem, which is what the florists and event florists are going to want to deal with. So I've ordered 100 of those. I've got 50 in white and then 50 in this gorgeous mixture of colors, all different shades of blue. So dark navy, pale blues, lavenders. I think one is a blue and white mix, and then there's some whites in there as well. And then what happened was I had one of those I don't have anywhere near enough seeds moments, which keep happening to me. And I thought, I'm going to have to order some more. So I'm going to order Kupani, which is a variety that I grow myself every year. And They are incredibly heavenly scented. They came over to England in the 17th century with a monk from Sicily, and I love those. So I'm going to grow some of those as well. And oh, you just know that I'm going to end up getting more as well. So what I've decided to do this year is grow them up my fence panels. So I've got they're called, well, the make is called Heras fence panels, and they're about 6 foot tall, so 1.8 meters, and then they're about 2.4 meters long. And they're what I use around the flower area, and they're what I use to keep the chickens in, because God willing, the foxes can't go over the top of them. But we just have to hope and pray on that one. And so I am going to grow my sweet peas up these Harris fence panels so I don't have to faff about with canes and stakes and all the rest of it. It can get very expensive, because what I need to do with the sweet peas this year, which is something that you don't tend to do in a garden environment, you might build a pyramid, say, of canes, and then it really doesn't really matter if you have a great clump of flowers at the top, because it's just your garden or client's garden. But when you're growing them for the florists, I need each stem to just go straight up and not get tangled with any other stems. And I really need to have as much height and space for them as possible. So I have counted each of the bars on each fence panel, and there are 78 upward metal bars on each panel. So if I'm going to do a couple of hundred seeds, I need to have at least, well, no, a maximum of 2 fence panels. And I just have to work out the configuration, because they're obviously going to wobble about if they don't get installed into the ground properly. Now, we have got some fence posts that I think will get put up, but whether I do the sweet peas on a sort of L shape or a bit of an angle, I haven't worked that out yet. Because obviously they're going to be very tall, and it's going to create like this enormous wall of greenery. And I need them to get as much sunlight as possible, but then not block out sunlight for any other flowers. But that is my plan for this year. And the other thing that I'm going to do this year is hopefully remove all the tendrils from the sweet peas. Now, I might be setting myself an impossible challenge here, given that I'm hoping to grow between 150 and 200 plants. But it's been my understanding, well, I've not done it in the garden situation, I've just planted them and let them go. But it's my understanding for the cut flowers that you need to take the tendrils off, so that the tendrils don't grab hold of any leaves and wrap themselves around and ruin the plant, or grab another plant, or just grow with a bit of a kink. And these tendrils also take energy away from the plant, because obviously the sweet pea sends lots of them out, and they're all growing very rapidly and then twisting and all the rest of it. So we want them to just put their energy into the flowers rather than faffing about with tendrils. So we'll have to see how I get on with that. And so, in preparation for this excitement that is sweet peas, I have been collecting toilet rolls. And I'm one of those irritating people that gets through quite a lot of toilet paper anyway, just in my normal life. So there are rolls of toilet roll, the little cardboard insert rolls, gathering in paper bags all over the place. And I have let my boyfriend know and other people know that I am collecting toilet rolls. So the sweet peas, really, they either need to be started off in special root trainers, or you can do them in toilet rolls, so that you can literally just plant them into the ground and you don't have to worry about disturbing the roots. So that is the plan for my sweet peas this year, which I'm very, very excited about. And as soon as I have bought my other varieties, I will let you know what I've done. And there will, of course, be photos on the Hen Hill Cut Flowers Instagram. I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about today. I will be recording another podcast later this week, and I'm hoping to get into the flower garden tomorrow and Thursday, do a bit of work in there. We should have a bit of sunshine, and I'm very excited about reconfiguring my beds and getting them all facing the right way, so that I have some gorgeous show-stopping 40-foot long beds this year. Well, that's it for today. Please join me next time and do subscribe so I know you're listening. My contact details are in the show notes, and I'd love to hear from you if you have a question you'd like me to answer on the show. Until next time.